To unpack some of the incredible pictures that we're seeing that not only have been coming out of Tel Aviv. You can hear those air raid sirens there warning people to get into their shelters, but we've also been seeing Israel attacking Iran also in the last few hours. Let's go to our senior political analyst, Marwan Bishara from Paris. Marwan, we're just hearing those air sirens. Anyone familiar with the area will know that that usually means attacks, missile attacks most likely. And it seems now Iran has confirmed that there is a second wave.
It was actually interesting that the Iranians decided to respond so quickly, so speedily to the Israeli bombing last night. Clearly, the political, the strategic, and even the public relations damage caused by the Israeli bombing was as such that the Iranian government had to respond as quickly as possible in order to restore some kind of a confidence in the government and in order to show that it is capable of responding to a sudden, unprovoked Israeli bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, I think, as you were saying earlier, I'm not sure if it's residential, but certainly if Iran is attacking civilian infrastructure in Tel Aviv, then I think that will continue to change the equation and perhaps allow for even greater escalation moving forward.
Marwan, when we're looking at those live pictures, what we're seeing now is those missiles being intercepted, but not all of them have, because there has been a fire. That's what we've seen so far at the moment. There hasn't been any report of casualties, and that's likely because people have been warned ahead of time by the Israeli military to head to those shelters. We're still finding out what's the situation on the ground there. Now, when you look at the situation now, just yesterday, the IAEA had held a resolution saying that Iran needs to do more, that it had one last opportunity to figure out what it was doing with its nuclear program. They needed answers, more answers as to, this is post the visits to those nuclear sites. And also Sunday, we expect these indirect talks between Donald Trump and Iran. Is that likely to change the dynamics now? Do we think that can go ahead?
I think it will change the dynamic. I think, if I understood correctly, the Iranians are saying already that it's changing the dynamic. As already we're seeing escalation and a change in the nature of this confrontation come war, that it's very hard to predict what's going to happen the next hour. Already, as we're just seeing the scenes, clearly this is a major escalation. The fact that Tel Aviv is attacked, and as you said, the fact that Israel cannot, in fact, defend against each and every missiles coming, because the Heights, or so-called the Arrow defense system, Arrow 3, is capable of defending against long-range missiles from the likes of Iran. But certainly, if Iran decides to launch a whole bunch of them against one particular angle, it's going to be very difficult for Israel to fend against all of them. So predictably, some will eventually fall. And that and by itself will be a new development for Israel, whereby such huge missiles would be able to create damage in the city centers of Israel. Now, as far as the United States is concerned, now we have to ask ourselves a whole bunch of questions, because our old assumptions no longer work. Or certainly, as journalists, as intellectuals, as observers, we have to start doubting everything we've heard before. I'll give you one quick example, because you mentioned Trump. Was Trump serious about the negotiations with Iran, or was it a cover-up in order to give Israel the time to prepare for its attack? Was the attack, in fact, green-lighted by Trump in order to nudge a humiliated, defeated Iran into surrender at the negotiations table in Oman? These are two very different scenarios. Clearly, the United States is complicit in this attack, and it did give the green light to
it absolutely did. And Donald Trump himself has said that Israel used great American equipment. And he also added that it could help make me a deal with Iran. Everyone has said that the US president is a transactional president. He wants something out of it. We've seen the same with Russia and Ukraine, with the Russia-Ukraine war, with him trying to bring negotiations and a deal. Is this to twist Iran's arm so that it can get what it wants out of it? And if that's the case, what does it want?
You know, sometimes we say in such geopolitical terms, an answer that fits all question is probably the wrong answer. So he's certainly a transactional president, and he's certainly a transactional in this case as well. But that's not the answer. The answer, I think, now, once again, has to do with us re-examining our assumption, including about Trump and Trump's relationship with Netanyahu. Because I think in this very particular case, Trump was convinced. Netanyahu basically manipulated or talked him into, convinced him that diplomacy doesn't work with Iran. That, you know, this and that, tried it and so on and so forth. And by the way, it's all false because it did work. Obama did reach a deal. And if Trump did not walk out of that deal under Netanyahu's influence, we wouldn't be in the situation at all. So it's a deal that was approved by the 6 major Western democracies, including Germany, but as well as, the Russia and China and so on. So this was a formidable deal that worked until Trump walked out of it. But for the time being, Netanyahu is convincing Trump that only force works, that you have to use force, that you have to humiliate them, that they only understand the language of force. And I think Trump basically ended up, after 60 days of these kind of sort of meager negotiations, as if you can reach negotiations in a time limit by imposing your conditions, as he tried to do with Putin, and it certainly didn't work.
Right.
So I think now we are in the logic of Israelization of American security approach to the Middle East and towards Iran. And I'm afraid that could lead to major escalation and serious implications for the Middle East. Because what does it mean when a genocidal nuclear state like Israel attacks unprovoked a state that is not nuclear, that is not been threatening, but in fact has produced a president, meaning Iran, that is more than ready and pragmatic to work a deal with the Americans, yet another deal. It means that there's a dangerous regime in Israel, supported by the United States, a regime that would not join the non-proliferation treaty that you just mentioned earlier. And with American weapons, some 200 American jet fighters, with American technology, with American bombs and explosives, with American intelligence, just attacked another country in the Middle East after attacking and invading Syria, after attacking and invading Lebanon, after committing genocide in Gaza, and so on and so forth. So this logic, the logic of force and violence, the logic of violating law, the logic that only force works and diplomacy does not work, that has long-term consequences, especially when it is directly, explicitly supported by the United States with total Western silence. I just read what Starmer said in the UK, what President Macron said in France. It's almost like, you know, complicit silence with we defend Israel's right to defend itself. That doesn't sound like it's the appropriate statement at this point in time.
Okay, thank you very much, Marwan Bishara, for all of your analysis.